everyone. Welcome to the ICSB KMI joint webinar. So we will talk about the role of state government in US-Korea business relations today. Our speaker, Ms. Juna Kim, is already here. Okay, let me share my screen quickly to give you quick announcement. Give me 1 second. Right. Okay. Ms. Juna Kim will be our presenter, speaker today. She's joining me today from the greater Detroit area in Michigan. Juna is a former correspondence manager at the state of Michigan's Office of Governor Gretchen Whitmer. I will introduce her background more in detail very soon. Before we are moving on to that, I'd like to thank two KMI's affiliated partners organizations that have helped us on so many levels. First, the Korean Management Institute, KMI, is under the umbrella of the George Washington University. We are located in Washington, DC. KMI brings together a wide range of business people, policymakers, researchers, government experts, students, and others who have an interest in the US-South Korea business relations through the GWSB's global network. Without the School of Business support, we couldn't host this webinar. Thank you very much. The Department of Management hosts the KMI to let us contribute to the research and teaching mission of the GWSB. Without the supports from my chairs and colleagues at the department, we couldn't successfully promote our webinar series. I'd like to thank my colleagues at my department. Our department is offering internationally renowned degree programs and graduate certificates. For more information, please visit our website. You can see the URL on the screen. IITS, the International Institute of Tourism Studies at the GW School of Business, is also a crucial partner and supporter of KMI. For more than 30 years, IITS has been a global leader in tourism education and research. As a research team member at IITS myself, I will encourage our current and prospective students, also our audience tonight, to check the website to see if you can work with IITS, and if you're a student, work at the institute and join the experiential learning program. Last but not least, as a professor of management and tourism studies, I'm proud to introduce you to the GW Master of Tourism Administration program. I cannot wait to see my prospective students who got admitted to the MTA program in the fall semester. If you have any questions about the application and admission processes, feel free to contact me or contact us. You can check the website too. Okay, without further ado, let me introduce our keynote speaker today, Ms. Juna Kim. As introduced earlier, Ms. Kim is former correspondence manager at the state of Michigan's Office of Governor Gretchen Whitmer. Previously, Ms. Kim served as a constituent relations manager and legislative aide at the Office of State Senator Hopgood and Michigan Senate. Juna earned her bachelor's degree in psychology from the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor. Today, we will cover the three main topics: the role of correspondence manager in the public sector, the impact of communication in the public-private business relations, and lastly, best practices for enhancing US-Korea business relations, the case of Michigan. I just want to make it clear that we are not getting political in this webinar. We'll focus on business, entrepreneurship, and how to support SMEs. Our speaker and the moderators will also mainly focus on the US-Korea business relations today. Okay, I kindly ask our attendees to follow this direction accordingly when we have a discussion and Q&A session after the presentation. Okay. Ms. Kim, the floor is yours. Let me stop sharing my screen and I will hand it over to you.
Okay, I will share my screen. Can you see my screen?
We can see the presenter view, the note. Can you click on the desktop? No. Yeah, not this one.
That was the desktop that I clicked during the, wait one moment, please, sorry.
Okay.
That was the, that's weird, okay. Let me try this one more time.
Okay, take your time, take your time.
So there are desktop 1 and desktop 2, and there's Microsoft PowerPoint.
Did you click on the Microsoft PowerPoint screen?
Yeah, when
first
I
time?
first did.
Yes. Yeah. Can you go to the yeah, not this one. Can you click on desktop number 2 this time? Yes. There you go. Now we can see your screen slides. Thank you.
Right.
Good.
Sorry about that.
Right, no problem.
Okay, so a lot of these, let me just quickly introduce myself. My name is Juna Kim, and thank you everyone for joining me today at this webinar. And then I think Dr. Saw introduced a little bit about myself, but I just wanna briefly introduce my career in the state government for a brief period of time. So as he mentioned, I graduated from the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, with a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology in 2016. And after graduation, I began as an intern at the office of Michigan State Senator Hun Young Hapgood. And I was lucky to be promoted to a full-time position of Constituent Relations Manager and Legislative Aide. And in these positions, I researched for policies in Michigan and also some current issues in Michigan to help the senator draft bills and to present it on the floor to make into a law. And in the position of a constituent relations manager, I talk to constituents to hear their issues and also help them connect with appropriate departmental liaisons and also research to solve their case issues. And once he was term limited in 2018, I transitioned into the executive office of Governor Gretchen Whitmer when she was elected governor in 2019. So I was the starting member when she took her tenure, and I worked there until 2021. And I'll talk about this role more specifically later. So this would be our agenda today. First, I'll talk about my role of correspondence manager in the public sector, elaborating on my experience in the office of Governor Gretchen Whitmer. Second, I'll be talking about the impact of communication in the public-private business relations. And third, I would like to talk about the ways for enhancing US-Korea business relations, focusing on Michigan. So as a correspondence manager in the governor's office, my main goal was to ensure the governor communicates effectively with the people of Michigan and the general public on her goals, priorities, various projects, and issues facing Michigan. So I drafted various recognition letters for constituents and tributes for individuals and organizations. I drafted grant support letters for both public and private organizations and proclamations that raise awareness of statewide issues in Michigan, such as Pride Month or Juneteenth month, Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and any other statewide issues. So on this picture to the right, I'm holding a proclamation on the left. The proclamation is on the formal Michigan blue state paper. And I believe that one of the most critical roles of a public leader is to communicate well with the people that he or she is representing, because the public needs to know what the governor wants to focus on and what she's addressing and what she hopes to achieve in her tenure, so that the public can either support or also send in letters of complaints or advise her on ways to improve her leadership. And so throughout my position, I help to build bridges between the public and the governor, so the people know what the governor is focusing on, addressing, and what her priorities are, so they can either support or send suggestions on how to improve. Next, I'll be talking about the impact of communication in the public-private business relations. So ever since the governor started her tenure in 2019, her utmost priority has been to support and communicate with small businesses across Michigan. And during the COVID-19 pandemic that we are facing, she has made particular efforts to communicate with small businesses across the state. So for example, she sent personal letters of gratitude for small businesses across Michigan, which I helped to draft. So about 200 small businesses in Michigan received her letters thanking them for their efforts and for their resilience throughout the pandemic. Also, she published a proclamation for Buy Michigan Week, which you see on the right of the slide. And throughout this proclamation, she urged the public to buy and shop locally, as opposed to buying from outside states or outside of the nation. And the proclamation also states some statistics on the money and the jobs it will generate if Michigan shoppers buy locally as opposed to buying from outside. So it was a way of communicating to the public on the importance of buying locally. In a larger scale, the governor also hosted the Michigan Small Business Summer Tour, which she and her cabinet members visited a lot of local business throughout the counties in Michigan and met with the business owners. She also hosted the Small Business Summit during the summer, where she invited small business owners, policymakers, economic development leaders, and business owners to collect feedback to know how to best create policies to support small businesses. So throughout these methods, the governor, in a lot of different ways, made efforts to communicate with small businesses. businesses. And her effective communication with small businesses across the state has resulted in many positive actions and outcomes for both the businesses and the economy of Michigan, despite the hardships they were faced during the pandemic. So there are some significant statistics here. She awarded 52.5 million through Michigan's Small Business Survival Program to nearly 6,000 small businesses throughout Michigan, which were used to meet the urgent needs of businesses that faced financial hardship, especially that have been told to fully close or partially close during the pandemic. And as a result, over 52,500 jobs were retained from Michigan. And all this will help lead to Michigan's long-term economic recovery from the pandemic. Also, in turn, this has resulted in 7.6% economic growth, 6.5 million revenue outlook increase, and 1 point lower than the national average for the unemployment rate in Michigan. So these statistics show and prove how important communication has been between the public sector and the private businesses in producing this significant outcome that had positively influenced the Michigan economy. And third, I will be talking about the best practices for enhancing US-Korea business relations, especially focusing on Michigan. So there are three major industries in Michigan. One is tourism, park, and recreation. Michigan has a lot of nature and a lot of parks and recreation areas. There's a reason why it's called Pure Michigan. And second industry is automotive related businesses. Detroit has been a major area for a lot of car manufacturing companies like Ford and GM. And third will be renewable energy industry. And for all these areas, there are major Korean companies in Michigan that can partner with Michigan businesses and the state government to enhance business relations and the economy for both Korea and Michigan. And some large Korean companies include SK Battery of America, LG Chem Michigan, LG Energy Solution Michigan, and Kotra Detroit office. SK Battery of America and LG are working to produce and supply batteries and to produce innovative energy solutions to solve automotive industry's challenges in Michigan. And Kotra Detroit is focused on developing a market for Korean automobile parts industries in Michigan. And there are many opportunities in these companies to further enhance the business relations between Korea and Michigan and throughout the United States. And next, I would like to talk about why Michigan is a competent and a good place for a Korean business person to start a business. Michigan has a diverse and abundant workforce, business-friendly environment, low cost of living compared to other big cities in the United States, and global supply chain assets. And to focus on the last point, the global supply chain assets, Michigan is a top global destination for foreign direct investment. And as you see in this bar graph, South Korea is number 3rd for the foreign direct investment in Michigan. And Michigan is home to more than 1,400 foreign companies spread throughout more than 5,000 locations and is a top global destination, which explains that Korea invests a lot for Michigan businesses, which means that if a Korean industry or a business person starts a business in Michigan, there are a lot of opportunities to partner with Korea. Also, by matching established and diverse industries with foreign companies that have similar goals, Michigan has recorded $11.3 billion in foreign direct investment since 2015 with 5 key industries. And the number one industry is the automotive components, which consists of 42.1%. And the second is automotive OEM, which consists 31%. And there are coal, oil, and gas industry, industrial equipment industry, and the electric components industry. And also, the Michigan is ranked as a top 10 pro-business state and a top 10 state for major new and expanded corporate facilities, which means that Michigan is really interested and invested in attracting talented workforce globally and helping them settle as a new business in Michigan. And one of the best resource in Michigan as a starting business or for business assistance is the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, MEDC, which is a public-private partnership agency and economic development corporation that offers business assistance services and capital programs for business attraction. This would be the first source if someone is willing to start a business in Michigan. And they provide personal support if you filled out the form at their MEDC website on this slide. And for advice on site selections and site consultants, there is also a direct contact on the slide. And all this information and other resources for starting a business in Michigan can be found at MEDC's official website. So this concludes my webinar presentation today, and I welcome any questions that you have. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kim. Let's have a Q&A session. Especially, let me give a quick comment. This presentation will be very helpful and informative, also very practical for businesses in South Korea that are planning to invest in the States and in Michigan too, right? And those statistics and graphics on the investment in Michigan, that was very knowledgeable too. I learned a lot from that. Thank you very much. And I can see our previous presenter, Dr. Oh, is in the audience and raising his hands for quite a while. So Dr. Oh, do you have any question? I can move you up to the host to activate your audio, your mic. Let me.
Should I stop sharing my screen?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. We can just have some more interactive settings, just seeing each other. Dr. Oh, good morning. Do you have any question?
Let me think. It was a very impressive presentation. So I've stayed in Michigan about 10 years, but I've learned so much at this time. So I didn't know about how much Korea invested to Michigan and how much Michigan has a good relationship with the international. But let me think about what is good and what is questions. So give me some time.
All right. I thought you raised your hand.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Maybe there's some technical issues on your side. Okay, good. Thank you. I can see Professor G in the audience too. Professor G, Dr. G, do you have any questions for the presenter or about the content in the presentation? You can use the chat, or I can allow you to talk too. Hello there, Dr. O. I can see you now.
Okay. I
Good.
have one question.
Oh, good. Nice. Nice.
So, to get some investor from other country, does your governor visit the country to talk about the business thing? I mean, did your governor visit to Korea, visit to Japan, to China to get some investor from those countries?
Before COVID-19, right? Before the pandemic.
Yeah, before or during COVID.
Or during, over the,
Yes.
using the Zoom or something, right?
Yes.
So I'm not aware of all the schedule the governor has, but then one thing I knew is that I helped draft letters from the governor with the Japanese emperor. So I know that the Japan and Michigan have a really tight relationship for exports and imports. And also she has a really close partnership with the governor of Gyeonggi Province of South Korea. So they have a really good friendship between the governor and the governor of Michigan and the governor of Gyeonggi Province. And so I think in Asia, Japan and Korea is the two countries that I know of that the governor has close partnership with. I don't think the governor has visited either of those countries because it's kind of far away. But I know that she has been exchanging a lot of letters and conferences with those countries, with the leaders of those countries. Yeah.
Nice. Yep. I have a question. Another question related to COVID-19. You mentioned, we've learned from your presentation that you've worked on a proclamation to support SMEs, small and medium-sized businesses, during the COVID-19. So how has the COVID-19 pandemic affected communication in the public-private business relations? It's a very general question. You don't have to reiterate all the things you already presented. Just if you have anything else to add to what you've covered already, that would be great.
So I think there were some hardships, obviously, in the communication during the pandemic because the governor is the type of person who likes to actually meet and greet with people. So she has been doing a lot of town halls and conferences face-to-face with the small businesses. But after the pandemic started, that had some limitations, obviously. So a lot of it was transitioned to sending letters and just emailing with the small businesses. But I think either way, her focus has always been hearing them and hearing what their hardships are, how much financial hardship each of them are having, and what parts they need help on. And I also know that a lot of small businesses helped the governor by donating a lot of mask supplies and personal protective equipments for the state. And a lot of them also provided free meals for like people who have been having a hard time buying food during the pandemic. So I think they both had a good partnership of providing each other what each other needs. So I think despite the hardships, the communication has still been effective online. But now the governor is hoping to shift back to meeting with them in person, which is why she hosted some summer tours and summits now that we are all vaccinated compared to last year. I hope that answered the question.
Professor Jung-Gu, may I jump in?
Yeah, sure, of course.
Okay, first of all, before we start, Professor Oh, it is nice to meet you again. And I hope you're doing well. And thank you again for joining us. We definitely need to have you in at GW here. So just, I did not forget. So the invitation still stands. And Jung-Gu will remind me with that. Ms. Juna, first of all, I want to start on behalf of GW School of Business and the Department of Management and then ICSB and KMI. We are so happy and honored to have you here. It's just incredible. I was listening to your presentation here, and you have done so much, right? So it's just amazing. So congratulations here.
Thank you so much.
So I have a couple of things to ask you here, just to kind of get you going as well here, and to kind of learn more. First of all, I know how difficult it is, extremely difficult it is, and the amount of work you have put in. And you say it so easily, but behind the scenes, there's so much work in writing the proclamation, right? It is not easy. I have done the same thing at the United Nations, and every word that you write in the proclamation goes through vetting and discussion and debate. And it is, so the amount of work you have put in is just incredible. And so we have to, first of all, congratulate you. And I took a picture of you holding the proclamation. That must be a big highlight in your career. And it's a young career, so there's many more to come right here. So, but with the proclamation, with what you have done, and what the governor's vision is, which is incredible here, you have mobilized the small business or the micro business and small business ecosystem in Michigan, right? And particularly in Michigan here. Can you share a little bit? And I know maybe just kind of say, when I was doing this is some of the challenges we face, some of the things we experienced writing the proclamation and what it really meant. Because behind the scenes, I think, if you can share maybe one or two things, you can say these were challenges, but that's got us all excited. What might that be?
So you mean by the challenges I faced during the process with
yes, and writing it and turning it into reality is two separate things.
So I think there are a couple of challenges. So first of all, I think one of my personal challenge was when I'm writing the proclamations, I'm representing the governor, and she's the one essentially who's writing the proclamation, but I'm just representing her values and opinion, right? So I think that was one of the biggest challenge, because although I really like the governor, there's obviously some values that I don't completely agree with. But when I'm drafting the proclamation, I have to just kind of betray my own values and opinion and just kind of be her voice. So that was kind of an inner hardship that I faced, because I'm representing her voice, so I shouldn't really take consideration of my own values, which was a biggest personal challenge for me. And the second challenge in general was, for example, during the pandemic, I had to write a proclamation recognizing the first anniversary of the first COVID-19 case in Michigan. So that is a really, really solemn and sad occasion, right? Because I had to research on how many people passed away, how many people, had financial hardships, and all those hardships that went on during the year. And because it was such a big issue, and that put sadness and hardships on so many people, it was hard to put that in the writing on the one piece of paper. It was too much of a large scale for me to express those in writing, because I can never understand their feelings of someone who lost their parent, or someone who lost their child, or someone who couldn't go to their parents' funeral because of COVID-19. I can never understand, and I can never put that into one single piece of paper. So I think on those serious issues, it's really hard to choose the right word and the right scale to pay respect for the people that the proclamation is representing. So I think those two were.
And so Ms. Juna, and this is for the audience here, because I think you and I understand what this means here, but explain a little bit the significance of what is a proclamation. Mm-hmm. What does a proclamation mean? Because a lot of people don't understand. They think it's just something in writing on a piece of paper that you hold up. Mm-hmm. But what does it really mean? And maybe if you can explain in your own words, I think that will have major impact.
So I think proclamation is the most official document that the state publishes. So it goes, first of all, once it is published, it goes on the state's official website, so the public can access and view it at any time. So that's how it goes public. And also it has an official seal of the state, just to show that it is an official document and it's unlike any other letter drafts. So I'll just say it's like a public document that addresses some of the most important statewide issues within that state.
Good, excellent. And I think Professor O will know that I ask difficult questions here. So let me ask you one more difficult question here. And this is something that's very important to our School of Business, ICSB in particular, and also to me personally, and the role of womenpreneurs or women small businesses, right? Because as you know from COVID and the research that has come out, that a lot of women have been more negatively impacted than men because of COVID-19 in terms of they left work to go back home because they have, it's not fair. It's the system, it's just the hardship is more on women. In your capacity working with the governor and in your capacity looking at small businesses in Michigan here, what have you seen in terms of small businesses run and operated by women in general? What have you seen and heard, or your personal reaction to this?
So I agree with you that women have been more negatively impacted, and not just women, but all the minority groups. Like I know African Americans have been more negatively impacted, and women have been more negatively impacted. And I think one of the major factors negatively impacting women business owners and women workers is that a lot of daycares has been closed with the pandemic. So that means women need to take care of their child at home and not be able to work. So I think that's one of the major factors that affected the woman, because there are stereotypes that women would have to take care of the child and men works. And women didn't have any choice because the daycare were closed. And also, I know that my boss had a hard time because the schools were closed too. So the public schools were all closed and kids were, studying from home and taking online classes. So woman will have to, even though she works from home, she has all these distractions from a child, and she has to take care of the child while working. So I think especially those who are parents, like women who are parents, have been especially having a hard time with the coronavirus pandemic. Yeah, I think that's one of the major factor, and I'm trying to think of other factors, but I think that was the first one that came up in my mind.
No, that's absolutely, and really the way you explained it is very clear here, and it just shows the amount of impact, negative impact on women. So you've done a fantastic presentation here, but we want to leave some space for you. So you are, and going back to law school, right? You're working in the governor's office. You've accomplished a lot, right? And so what is your future aspirations, and what is your goals here, and kind of where is your passion laid out, and kind of how do you see the future ahead in particular? And you are a role model for also a lot of women that are trying to do everything in the sense of career plus kind of following your passion. I think Professor Jung-Hoo mentioned saying that it took you some time, but you're back again to what you want to do. So share with us, because this is an inspiration to other people that want to follow your dream.
Okay, so my goal to come back to start law school now has been more strengthened when I was working in the governor's office, because I had opportunities to learn about like the minority rights and child rights, and some of those people who does not have rights or who doesn't have justice because they're a minority or for any other reasons. So I think that kind of made me lead back to my ultimate goal of working as a lawyer that represents children and immigrants and other minority groups. So that is my ultimate goal once I graduate from law school. I want to work as a lawyer for children and minority groups so that they can rightfully pursue their justice and have the rights that they should have as a human being and as a minority. So after I graduate from law school, I want to eventually work at an international organization for minority rights. Yeah, so that would be my interest at law school, and also once I graduate, my ultimate goal. Yeah.
This is incredible. We are your biggest supporters and fans here. I think you're gonna go places here, and we're gonna record this webinar, which is recorded here, and we're gonna play it here and say we had her when she was just starting out. Now she's making a huge impact here, and then you can say this was the first webinar here. So we have some history making here. I want to personally thank you on this, but I want to give it back to the host of this webinar. He's done a fantastic job, Professor Jung Ho. I give the floor back to you again.
Thank you, Dr. El-Tarabishi. Thank you, Ms. Kim. All your future plans and comments to Dr. El-Tarabishi's questions. And before we close this webinar, for our viewers in the future, or our attendees in the webinar right now, if there's any attendees who are willing to work for the government, looking for their career at the state level government or national level government or international organizations, based on your experience, would you like to give career advice for the students? You are relatively young still, but for our students, especially in the undergraduate years, if you can share your any career advice for them, especially who are willing to work for the government, that would be great.
So I think for me, how I first got the internship at the Senator Hopgood's office was that I was a deputy secretary for the International Policy Student Association at University of Michigan. So I think that was a great stepping stone for me to step into the state government. So I would give an advice to be really active in your school's like extracurricular organizations that are related to government or like policy. And I know a lot of my colleagues at the state government was part of MUN, Model UN, which is in a lot of undergraduate schools. And I think my personal experience was that the state government is a great way to lead up to a career, because it opens up so many diverse opportunities. Like for me, it opened up a way to law school, and some people becomes like the elected representative or the senator after working the state government. And also in the state government, you learn a lot about policies. So you can get a handle of the policies and and all those other opportunities. And a lot of majors in political science or public policy also work in the state government. So I think if you are interested in one of those areas, I think getting an experience at the state government is a great way to get an experience. And also, one another important thing is that state government makes you build a lot of important networks that's gonna help you throughout your life. Like I know in the state government, I met so many networks that's gonna continue to help me at the law school. So it's a great way to build networks as well.
Thank you for your advice. Thank you very much for your time, all the attendees. And it's Friday evening in Washington, D.C. and it's Saturday morning in South Korea. All the attendees, thank you for your time. And our presenter, moderators, and panelists who joined the discussion, thank you very much. If you like to contact KMI, please check our website. You can see the meeting agenda for today's webinar. Also, you can find Ms. Juna Kim on her LinkedIn. You can find her LinkedIn page quite easily. So feel free to contact us if you are interested in the webinar content and the following future events hosted by KMI. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a nice evening. I will see you next month. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a nice weekend, everyone.
Bye. Bye.